Good morning.
Hello. 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 Good morning. Good morning. Test, test, test. Good morning. All right. Good morning. And welcome to Young at Heart. We're so glad to have all of you here today. My name is Lois Lassiter. And we are going to talk about some fall things today. And we have a beautiful display here of these gorgeous fall flowers, so we can really get in the mood for that. Let's open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity for these friends to gather and fellowship together, eat together, learn some new things, and just have a good time on a Thursday morning. We just ask that you bless us in all the things that we do, that we give you the glory for everything you create, especially these flowers that we see here this morning. In your precious name I pray. Amen. Okay, we have several birthdays, and let's see if we have any of these people here. Okay, we have Paul Patton, Darlene Barnhill, Ginger Streeter, David Dietzel, and Sue Young. And none of them are here. Do y'all want to sing happy birthday anyway? I think we should. They may be watching online. So let's go ahead and sing to them, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear friends. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Now, do we have any anniversaries? Anybody got any anniversaries this week or last week or next week? This month? No October anniversaries. Okay. All right. Well, we have some prayer concerns I want to mention this morning. Carol Traylor is in the hospital. I don't know if he has had his heart surgery yet. No, not yet, Jane Cooper says. But he will be undergoing a bypass surgery at some point. So especially want to remember him in our prayers. Also, Sue Draper, who I heard was doing just a little tiny bit better maybe. She had a procedure and that seems to have helped some, but we certainly need to lift her up also. And yesterday, our youth director, Sarah McCurley, she left Sunday with a busload of kids, came all the way back, no problems the whole time, gets off the bus, slips, falls, and she had sprained her foot really bad, a year or so ago. Well, she has sprained it again and is in a boot and it hurts. So we want to remember her. And also Kristen Thornton, who is here today. She's recovering from her gallbladder surgery and is hanging in there and doing all that she can, and we are trying to get her not to do too much. But she's got a wonderful crew in the kitchen, and I think we should go ahead and just say thank you to our kitchen crew. I'm not sure who all is in there, but let's let them hear our applause. Okay, so I found this little joke, and I'm not very good at telling jokes, but I thought it was kind of cute. So, an older couple were both having problem remembering things. During a checkup, the doctor tells them that they're physically okay, but that they might want to start writing things down to help them remember. Anybody there? I think we all are. Later that night, while watching TV, the man gets up from his chair and he says, "Want anything while I'm in the kitchen?" His wife says, "Will you get me a bowl of ice cream?" "Sure," he says. "Don't you think you should write it down so you can remember it?" He says, "No, I can remember it." The lady says, "Well, I'd like some strawberries on top too. Maybe you should write it down so not to forget it." And then she points to the sticky notes in the pen. The husband says, "I can remember that. You want a bowl of ice cream with strawberries." Then the wife says, "I'd also like whipped cream." "I'm certain you'll forget that. Write it down." She points to the sticky note and pen again. Irritated, the husband says, "I don't need to write it down. I can remember it. Ice cream with strawberries and whipped cream. I got it, for goodness sakes." Well, the husband toddles off to the kitchen, and it's gone quite a while. She hears pots and pans banging around. And finally, he comes out, and he's got his wife a plate of bacon and eggs. The wife says, "Where's my toast?" I thought that could be at my house. Well, we have a little devotional today about fall. And the scripture that goes along with this is from Philippians 3:13, very familiar. "Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Jesus Christ." The fall bucket list. New seasons have a way of instilling within us a fresh resolve to create new memories while still continuing old family traditions. We feel the need to do all the things available to or expected of us, and all too often social media really makes it hard. We see that someone we have never even met is doing elaborate Pinterest-worthy house decorating, and we feel very inadequate. Why do we do these things to ourselves? While it would be a mistake to try to do everything, there is something to be said for being intentional about doing some of the things. This also means that we must choose not to do some things. A fall bucket list is a great way to be intentional with our time and effort in a season when the tendency is to attempt too much and enjoy too little. The idea is to make a list of things that you really want to accomplish before the season is over. Maybe it's a professional family photo, homemade cider and donuts, or a hayride. Then be intentional about doing those things. Paul knew the importance of being intentional. When it came to how he lived his life, he told the Philippian believers, "This is what I do." He chose to forget the things that were behind him. He let go of any mistakes he had made, of which there were many, or opportunities he had missed, any wrongs committed against him, of which there were many. All of it he intentionally let go. That isn't easy to do, but it freed him up to do the next thing. Then he chose to reach forward to the things that were ahead. This required him to focus on the things that mattered and to choose only those things that assisted him in his pursuit of Christ-like living. This meant that there were things he couldn't do and places he couldn't go. The same is true for us. We must be intentional about reaching only those things that honor the Lord and bring us joy this season. Let's leave the rest behind. And so on the tables, you'll see a fall bucket list. So we're going to make us a bucket list. And this is not like I want to climb Mount Everest before Christmas kind of list. We want to think of some fun things that we can do that would be meaningful. And I have some suggestions just to get you kind of thinking about these things. And they're listed on the back of that page, actually, too. To be tourists in our own cities, regardless of where we live, have you seen everything there is to see in Bossier Shreveport and the surrounding areas? To watch a sunrise or a sunset on the same day. Who has ever done that? Yeah, especially if you go to the beach. That's so much fun. Jane's ready to go. Visit different museums. And some of those in town might be the Norton Art Gallery, the Spring Street Historical Museum, Shreveport Railroad Museum, Shreveport Waterworks Museum. We have so many places around town that are so interesting and full of so much history, and we can learn so much from them. Here's a very popular thing to do is try several types of ethnic cuisine. Now, who likes to go to different restaurants and try different food? Got any Mexican eaters? Greek? What do y'all like? What do you like, Hat? Pardon? Oh. Oh my goodness. That sounds exciting. Wow. Okay, so when's the last time you were at the zoo? The Tyler Zoo, the Alexandria Zoo, San Diego Zoo? Who's been to the zoo in the last 10 years? Last 10 years? Okay, we got a few. Well, okay, y'all need to put that on your bucket list. Go feed some little animals at the zoo. Okay, the next one is a very popular one in our church, volunteer. We have so many wonderful volunteers in our church. We wouldn't have a church without our volunteers, that's for sure. But there are also other places you might want to volunteer in your spare time, even like at the local library. They have opportunities that you can do things. There are just a lot of things that offer a chance to get out and get involved with something else that's going on in the community. And one of my favorites, read books. I love to read. And we have our Beyond the Book Club meeting this Sunday. We're reading West with Giraffes. I've got about 20 pages left. And it's a really neat book. It is a little bit different from what we usually read, but I like to read different types of things. So tell me what you've been reading. What's been on your list? I know Mary Lou's been reading. The giraffe book too? Okay. Who else has been reading something fun? I was gonna mention that. Yeah, 3 chapters a day for 90 days, and we'll be finished by the end of the year. And that is such an awesome thing that Pastor Mark has challenged us to do, is to be able to go through the Bible like that. So another thing we could put on our list is take lessons. One thing I've always wanted to do, and I just haven't done it, is to take a cake decorating class. I try to decorate cakes for the kids' birthdays and all that, but it's not professional what I do. But there are classes like at Michael's and places like that. There are classes at BIPSI, the community college, LSUS. They have all sorts of classes that you can go and take for just a small fee usually. I went to LSUS and took the notary class several years back, and that was lots of fun. I learned so much and was in there with all these young kids, and it was really neat. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there's a lot of opportunities like that. Go on a date. Now, this doesn't have to be husbands and wives. This can be with, oh, Carol's relieved. Oh, okay, good. Okay. This can be with grandkids, your kids. I love meeting a couple of my daughters in town for lunch on Saturdays and things like that. Just doing simple things together. And sometimes I get them to come out and help me in the yard. That can be considered a date, right? We're spending quality time together. Another thing is to write letters. And writing letters is kind of an old-fashioned thing to do. But I must say, when I had my shoulder surgery, I got so many get well cards and sweet notes from this church. It just amazed me, and that meant so much to me to be able to get those. And I still have them. I keep all the cards I ever get. So just take a few minutes and write someone just a thinking of you card is great. Another thing, write your story. Share with your children or your grandchildren or your sisters and brothers. Share stories about your time growing up and things like that. And then family photos are just an individual photo. It's fun to have a reason to get together and get dressed up, if that's your style, and go and everybody take a picture together. And this coming year, we're going to be doing another church directory, so that'll be a good opportunity for that too. And then homemade donuts or bread. Bake something and share it with someone else. So there are a lot of different things that we can do. And speaking of things that we can do, one more little thing here. The things that we have going on in our church. The cleaning kit assembly that we participate in is going to be Saturday, October the 22nd at Benton United Methodist. And that is from, they're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's an opportunity to go and help with a mission project. Sunday, October the 30th, we'll have another Fifth Sunday gathering, one worship service, and then we'll have lunch here in the fellowship hall. So this will be a potluck, of course, and the church will be providing the drinks and rolls. So we're looking for casseroles and things like that. Whatever your favorite thing to eat is. And then we've got children and youth activities going on. I mentioned the Beyond the Book Club we have this Sunday. So we have so many opportunities. And if you're not involved in like the Wednesday night things that we have, maybe put that on your bucket list and just come. You don't have to have started at the beginning of, when we started the programs. You can come anytime and participate on Wednesday evening. So we would love to have you. So I think that is all I have, other than introducing our speaker today, who is Mr. Tony Thornton. Tony. Tony is the manager at Ellis. What do you call it? Garden at
Ellis Home and Garden, but most people know it as Ellis.
Okay.
Ellis Pottery.
And he is going to share his expertise with these plants up here. They are so beautiful. So let's welcome Tony. Oh, wait. Before you start, we've got door prizes. Why not tell me? We got door prizes. We've got 5 door prizes. Sherry's working on it. I think she's looking for her name. Everybody's got their name in the basket? Oh, okay. Give us 1 minute. We want everybody to have a fair chance, for sure. On your table was also a little slip. Those are just little conversation things for your table to talk to each other about. The half sheet slip. They're just some fun things you might not know about your neighbors. That's fine. Margaret Edens. Why don't you do that for her? Okay. Bonnie Seth. Ken Mayo. Jane Cooper. And Joyce Backa. All right. Now, Tony, sorry. Go for it.
All right. Okay. Can y'all hear me? Oh. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, so when Kristen told me she needed someone to speak, I didn't know it was going to be like a 12-hour notice. But I'm okay with that because I do love talking about plants. And when I was thinking this morning, and as Lois was talking, and God kind of put on my heart, before I start talking about these plants, I want to share something with y'all because there's seasons in life, right? Y'all all know that. God put us here with all you guys because you have a lot of wisdom, and I'm starting to learn about seasons in life. So although, yes, I can talk about these plants, I've done this for 31 years, I want to share something with you that happened when we were in the hospital with Kristen in that emergency gallbladder surgery that really made me think about what if. So today I want to have you really think about the what if questions in life. Sitting in an emergency room, I'm going to tell you some things that happened that night that we didn't know we were going to be there. So we get there, show up in the emergency room. We're sitting by this lady that's there with her dad. And little did we know that that lady would be Kristen's nurse that night. What if in an emergency room? That day I found out real quick in an emergency room that there were no rooms, that we would be sitting in a hallway. Sitting in a hallway. I'm like, does this really happen in the United States in Bossier City? What if? And so I'm sitting there and God's just showing me this stuff, right? And right outside the room that we were sitting in the hallway, a lady had came in and she had fell watering her plants, 75 years old. I'm sitting there thinking about going in there and talking to her. Her daughter comes in and immediately comes out and says, hey, do y'all need anything? Do y'all need a charger? My phone was 2% dead. I said, yes. I go in the room. What if sitting outside in an emergency room, God's got you right where he wants you, right? So the story keeps going. I'm talking to this lady, and I'm saying, you know, she's 75. Her husband had passed away. Her daughter was moving to, I believe, Guatemala or something, and she's thinking she's going to be there by herself. And I'm telling her, no, you're not by yourself. And I told her where I worked. I said, you come see me. I should have got her name, but something happened and I'm having to go outside the room. I sit back down, and we hear this young girl talking about a blanket. She's telling everybody about this blanket she's got from Walmart and how comfortable it is. Puts a smile on my face. What if sitting outside the emergency room for all these reasons? And then here comes the doctor. Sorry, guys. He was the same doctor that was there when Landon was diagnosed 3.5 months ago as a type 1 diabetic. We got to tell him thank you, and he got to ask for Landon. So what if? God wants to show you those things, right? It even gets deeper. You couldn't make this up, right? We see this young girl and these nurses talking to this young girl, sharing love with her because she was there dealing with some depression, and they're just telling her it's going to be okay. What if in that emergency room? What if where you're at right now in life, God's got you exactly where he wants you. He wants you to open your eyes to see it doesn't matter the seasons, the circumstances in life. And yes, that nurse that was in the beginning was our nurse, and they were wonderful. But right there in that emergency room, sitting in that chair going, is this really happening in Bossier City? I'm worried about Kristen. We're waiting. I don't know how long. We were there about 8 or 9 hours, and so the Lord showed me that. I just wanted to share that with you. So whatever you're going with, whatever seasons that you're in, just remember what if God's got you exactly, and he's trying to teach you something, because he opened my eyes that night in that emergency room for 7 or 8 hours. I was just like, okay, God, okay. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because it was pretty powerful to me as a reminder. I could be griping. I was sitting in a chair at first. He goes, let me go find you a chair to sit beside Chris. And I'm thinking, I'm not even going to have a chair, right? But I wanted to share that story with y'all because thinking about the fall season and what you were saying, Lois, I didn't know if I was going to share it, but God put on my heart to just go ahead and share that story with you guys because that happened all in a 6-hour period pretty fast. And I love not only talking about plants, but my passion is talking about the Lord too. I love to talk about the things that God does. It's nothing that I've done. It's everything that He's done. So, and in preparing for this, I was rushing to get stuff. I typically come and bring pots and let y'all plant stuff, but I was hustling this morning to get all this together. So I figured, hey, look, I'll bring a bunch of plants that are for fall, which all of these are, and I wish you could smell this. Y'all know what stock is? Make sure you come by and smell this, because in the greenhouses, there's a bunch of these, and when you walk in, everybody's asking, what is that smell? What is that smell? In fact, if y'all want, I'll let y'all pass it. It's stock. It's called stock. You have to smell it. It's a fall plant. I don't believe it will make it in our winters here. I think the cold kills it, but it smells really, 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 really good. So just imagine in the greenhouse, when you walk in, you can smell that. But let's start mums. These are mums. These two on the end right here and this big white one, they are a fall plant. As soon as it starts getting cooler, they start opening more. And they won't make it, well, they do make it through our winters, but obviously when they stop blooming, they're going to, die off and then come back next year. If the conditions are right, they will come back. Sometimes they rot in the ground because they're a tuberous plant. But they're a very good, obviously, fall color. You've got so many different colors. This one right here, this orange one and mixed one's called a Pele mum. So there's different daisy types. There's all kinds of the flowers on the mums, different colors. And sometimes the colors will bloom at different times. The white typically is one that doesn't bloom as quick for some reason, but it's bloomed out this year. Our weather's crazy, y'all. I can't even keep up with, it just seems like the weather keeps getting further and further hotter in September, which really kind of hurts the plant business because no one wants to plant anything when it's 90 degrees. So we've had a challenging 3 years of trying to figure that out. I wish we had the season would be all of September. If it was in the 70s and 60s, we would have a phenomenal fall season of selling plants, but that and us to enjoy them too. But it's just when it's hot like this, it's hard to keep the plants going. Same thing with pansies. Where's my pansies? The pansies and these violas, they're a cool weather plant. Everybody wanted me to bring them in 3 weeks ago, but if I bring pansies in and you plant them too early when it's hot, they get real tall and leggy, and I throw so many of them away. So I tell people, wait until it starts cooling off. Now's a good time. Hopefully it doesn't get 90 into October. I hope not. I don't want to say that it won't, but hopefully it won't, because they will get tall and stretch. So you got to wait till it gets cooler to plant the violas and the pansies. A greenhouse manager years and years ago, when I was probably 17 or 18, I was like, what is he talking about? And this stuck with me. He goes, they have antifreeze in them. Like, what are you talking about? Antifreeze? So they will take frost. They will take ice. They'll be 100% okay with the cold. They obviously will make it all the way through the winter, January, February, March, April. They can make it up to there if you do the right things by keeping them fertilized, watered, and then when it gets hot, they typically die off. I've had people tell me their pansies have been doing really well in April, and they don't want to pull them out because they still look good. So you just got to make that decision when you get into April. Do you want to pull your pansies out and plant something for the spring, or you want to leave your pansies that look good? They are heavy feeders. Blood meal and bone meal are something that an organic fertilizer that you can do, and you can do Miracle-Gro, but they do like to have these bright, vibrant colors to make sure you're putting blood meal, bone meal on them to keep them blooming really well. Any questions so far? Y'all all have this planted already? You get all your plants from Ellis? Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Outside mums. So if you go to Ellis, yours are those are all outside, the thousands of them that you'll have.
Yes.
Those are to be put in the ground, or they may be put in the ground.
Yes.
They could be put in a pot
Mm-hmm.
and brought in, or they could just
You can.
and hope they survive.
Yep.
Whatever comes up. Is all that correct?
So that we call it Point Pele. That mum right there, that Pele mum, is grown in actually Canada in a greenhouse. So when you say florist, they're forcing that plant to do something it's not supposed to do outside of a normal. You can make anything in a greenhouse do whatever you want it to do. So they come from a greenhouse And then these are field grown. They're grown in massive fields outside. But any one of these you can bring in and put them. You can put that in a pot. It doesn't matter. That's the difference between like florist, greenhouse grown, and the field grown stuff. Sometimes when you get into plants and they're grown in a greenhouse and they're grown in the field naturally where they're at, you do when you have them come. I'll give you a perfect example. We used to get pansies from Michigan, and we would bring them in early this time of the year. They were grown up there in that environment, even though they were in a greenhouse, and they would melt when they got down here in the humidity. So I was like, what is going on? We got these in, and 2 days later, they literally looked like they were melted. They don't like our humidity. That's a big difference. So, but they grow them in the greenhouse to get them down to go and ship where they need to get, which is interesting. So yeah, you can plant them in pots for sure. If you wanted to bring them in and give them bright indirect light, if you wanted to have that in, don't ever be afraid to bring the outdoor plants indoors as long as you give them the right conditions and don't overwater them. Here's another good staple fall plant, or all the time. Dusty Miller is a good one. Good filler plant, gets pretty big. It kind of, I think, in my experience, people's told me they've came back and then they die back and they come back, maybe kind of a biannual. It kind of depends on the weather, the watering of those plants. And so good fall stuff. Snapdragons, oh, this is a pretty good plant. They're coming in so many colors now, I can't even keep up. They keep changing, just all kinds of colors. And these are a good fall plant. Kind of the same way with pansies. They will do good now and make it all the way till it gets hot. Now, what I would suggest to keep them blooming is when they do bloom out, you can cut them off and they'll keep coming back out. So just keep doing that and you'll keep getting them all the way up until I've seen some Snapdragons in April that look phenomenal. And I'm just like, man, how do you change these when they still look as good as they do? But they're a hardy plant. Just don't overwater them. Dianthus, another good fall plant, really all year. It just depends on how you water them and keep them cut back and blooming. This is it'll make it through the cold too. This is definitely a different kind. I forgot what kind of Dianthus. The flowers are a little different than your traditional ones. Sweet William. Dianthus Barbados. Y'all, there is so many different names. I can't even keep up with this stuff because they're constantly making new flowers from tissues and all kinds of stuff. But that's another good plant. It's pretty. Can go in a pot, go in the ground. Here's cabbage, and I think I got kale. Yeah, cabbage and kale. Another good fall plant to put in the ground. Takes a lot of space up. I think some of the times I talked to y'all before, make sure you're paying attention to when you're landscaping or if you're in your yard or pots, that you know how big it gets. It drives me nuts if you go down, is it Barksdale, and they did that sidewalk and they planted all these trees. They didn't think about 10 years from now they're going to be on top of each other for whatever reason. I don't know why landscapers do that, or they probably didn't get a landscape architect to do it because it's going to grow into each other. So you got to plan for that. It might look good right now, but I would say in 10 years from now they're going to be on top of each other. The lights aren't going to be, and it's like, God, we spent all this money. Anyway, my take on that. So make sure you're paying attention when you're planting stuff. How big, how tall. I had to learn this. So when I've asked Kristen, I've landscaped my yards a million times, and I finally got it. Everything's big in the back, and I step down, and I don't want to have to plant a bunch of stuff because I've re-landscaped my yard too many times. But this is Swiss chard. This is another good color. As this starts getting grown up more, the colors come out more vibrant and yellow and red, and it's all the different colors. So good fall plant too. Crotons, good fall plant. You can put this outside, but it won't make it through our winters. Make sure you don't overwater it, but there's so many different kinds of crotons. You see, this is like a frilly leaf. There's one actually called Picasso that has some really cool colors. I didn't have it. And this is your typical, what I call Petra croton. So you can plant these in the ground. They just won't make our winters. I see people do it. A little expensive to do that. But you can, if you wanted that color, be the envy of your neighborhood, going, what is all these crazy colors in that person's yard? A good house plant too, just don't overwater. I tell everybody this, most of the time people overwater their plants, and you're going to be much better I fight with my greenhouse manager. Everything in our greenhouses is under sprinklers. Everything now. We don't hand water, nothing. So we have to be very careful how long those sprinklers stay on. And we tend to, which some of you guys are gardeners, and we have these people coming in and going, this plant is like, at the end of the day, our humidity here will make this plant look like it's kind of starting to get dry. And they fight. I said, I promise you, we don't want to overwater them, but we have the water police come and tell us that a lot. So that's what I call them. And they are right. It's right on the verge. I'm like, but if I turn it up, the sprinkler's coming on 2 hours from now. And we do have our what we call bucket patrol. They go around and try to get the ones that we do miss. But don't overwater your plants. That whole thing, if you're trying to enjoy them and you're paying attention to your house plants and you're doing this stuff, you can pattern your plants how much they need it, right? You water this today, it's still heavy. You may not need to water it tomorrow. Wait, maybe a week from now, it's kind of starting to wilt. And you're like, okay, man, I can get away with a week. It's in the 90s. I can do that now. When it cools off, you might have to back off. Right? That's what we do now. We'll start backing off the minute the weather, where we're 10 minutes now, we'll probably go back to 5 as soon as it cools off at night so we don't overwater them. Don't forget that, because I've learned the hard way early in my career about overwatering and staff. Oh my God, some stockman one time, years and years ago, he was watering all the hanging baskets at night, and we lost hundreds of baskets because he thought he needed to water them every night before we caught. And you won't see that when the plant rots. Typically, it's too late. Once it's starting to die from overwatering, it's too late. But a wilted plant, you can catch and get back. What else do we have? Is that everything? I think so. That's another stock, another purple. Did everybody did y'all smell it? It smells good, doesn't it? It's a white, so they're white, red, purple, pink, all kind of, there's a bunch of colors. And these, the same thing, which are and kill me what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. See, these are they've dropped. So just come in here and pinch that off. Keep blooming. So that's what you want to do. They need to be in morning sun, afternoon shade. We typically see these, like when we get them off to too much sun, they're not doing good. Pansies will take the full sun, and as long as it's cooled off it and not super hot. That's just for you LSU fans. That's why I brought it. So. But the violas, there's a lot of different colors too. There's a grower in East Texas that it's so hard for me, y'all, when I have to order these sheets and there's like 100 different, like wine and cheese, Morpheus, this, different colors. There's so many different colors of pansies that I wish I could get all of them, but if I bring every single color, there's so many different colors of plants that it's hard to bring everything in, but it's really neat that we have those choices there to do that. And being a local family-run business, we have the ability to ask these people to grow stuff and have all these ways of getting these plants to us, all the way from Canada, Michigan, California, all over the place. So it's been really neat to get to see this. And I think talking about loving doing these plants, I get to see this, God's creations of all these different plants. There's times I'm walking in that store and going through that greenhouse, and I've been in sometimes early in the morning and just checking on stuff. I'm just like, man, look at all this. I'm surrounded by all these beautiful plants, and there's hundreds of them. There's probably $100,000 in plants in that greenhouse right now. It's a lot of plants, and there's a lot of perishable stuff to take care of. But man, what a blessing to get to work with God's creations every day. Work with the staff that I have and the Ellis family. It's been a blessing for 31 years, and I'm blessed to be there. Yes, ma'am. That's kale. So we planted that last year. If you ever go to Ellis, look in the flower bed, because we did it again, and I know it's going to happen. We tried to get them planted early enough. They grow like this tall, and everybody's going to ask for them in probably March and April when they're still doing good, and we won't have them. So I tried to plant them early enough so people would say, hey, here's what you need to get, but you got to get them now. So that's kale, and it gets, ginormous, and everybody asked for them. So we plant them in our flower beds. They're starting to grow a little bit, but they did get all the way. They might have still been doing okay in June, honestly, to tell you the truth. We just kept cutting. I think they call it when they bolt, when they shoot their flower up. We just kept cutting the flower off of them because if the flower stays on them, I think they'll die faster. If I'm saying that correct, when they call it bolting, because it's kind of what happens with cabbage and kale. I don't think you can eat this kind. This is ornamental, I believe. You might be able to. I think one lady said she was going to. I was like, I'm not going to tell you, I don't think you can eat them, but you might be able to. It is just ornamental cabbage and kale. I wish I would have brought, we had peppers too, like ornamental peppers that you could plant for the fall. So, in the garage. Just as long as it don't get below freezing. Like if it gets cold below freezing, because typically in your garage, if it's 32 out, it shouldn't be 32 in your garage, especially if you keep it up away from the door. I've done that before. Might lose its leaves because not getting enough sun, but I would bring it inside and just if it gets cold, then bring it in the house if you can get it in the house. But the garage, as long as it's not below freezing, you should be okay. Just don't forget, I've done that before too. Yep. And watch for white flies. They will get that when they begin to get stressed. And being in the garage, they might get that, and you can spray them with like a Mylathon or some kind of systemic stuff that you can put in the soil. Will help that too, because I've had that happen too. When you put stuff in and it sits, it tips to get bugs being in the garage when the plant's stressed. White, it's called Myalathon. Myathon, yeah. Kristen hates me using that because I use it on my crepe myrtles. It seems to work. I don't know if you've had crepe myrtles and noticed the disease that they're getting, that black sooty type stuff on it. So, and I have it on there now, and I go out there and spray all up under it, and she's like, "What stinks? You're spraying that Mylathon again." But it works. It helped keep that from dying because that disease will kill the crepe myrtle. So be aware of that with your plants too, paying attention. Getting ahead if there's anything on them, diseases and stuff like that, get the right stuff. Google will be your friend because I don't claim to know a lot about all of the diseases, and that's what I have to typically do because my staff tells them I'm the expert and I'm not. It's like, he's the expert. I'm like, no. And I'm over, let me Google this because some things I know and not everything, because there is a lot of, you can take and put the wrong chemical on a plant and hurt them, especially vegetables and things like that. There's certain times you can't put before something fruits, and I'm not going to tell somebody because I'm not an expert on vegetables. So, but basic stuff like Crotons even get white flies, and they'll get stuff on them. In fact, the companies will spray these with stuff, a liquid insecticide, and I've had like the water police that come in my store. They say that plant's got diseases all over it, and it's the stuff that's dried on it from the chemical that it's sprayed with. Well, you probably can't see, but see all this white kind of filmy stuff? They spray them to keep this scale, and these get mealy bugs and stuff like that on them all up and down the stems, and can cause a problem real quick. And I think a lot of that's from overwatering. So the Crotons, they need to be morning sun, afternoon shade. If you put them in the full sun, they will burn up. They will, their colors will bleach out, and they will. I've actually seen them like become almost transparent, that they burn up from being in the sun. We had them out in our parking lot, so we've got them inside now where they can't be. No sun can kind of come in from the side because they'll burn them up. And just don't overwater them. Like literally learn your pattern with the watering on Crotons. We made that mistake last year, and they had them on too long, and we lost a bunch and threw them away. Picked it up, and it's like, oh, water's just pouring out of them. So don't overwater. Don't overwater. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and it smells good. When I come in the greenhouse, it's just the fragrance is so, oh man, it smells so good. Um, no, we've been carrying it. I think for me, not that many people buy it, so I don't get a whole lot of it. But because it smells so good, I keep buying it. Even if I have to throw, sometimes I have to throw some of them away because they start kind of fading out on us. Instead of cutting them back, and then we have to, like, if the blooms all go and I have to cut them back, no one's gonna buy that. But I just keep bringing because it makes my greenhouse smell good. We do sell some, but I try not to bring a whole lot in. But they do smell so good.
Is this an okay time to transplant? I planted a couple of azaleas in too much shade, so I need to move them into some more sun. Is it okay to move the small ones
Yeah, I think you're fine.
and move them at this time?
Yeah,
Better wait till the spring.
you're getting kind of behind, but you can do it now because you want them to get kind of in. But I would hurry up. I wouldn't wait no longer. But a lot of people get that misconception that fall's not a good time. It actually is. So, because I correlate fall with kind of early spring when you're planting. It's like that same kind of season. You just got to make sure you get it before it gets cold and it has time to kind of get its roots going so it doesn't go through the winter with cold getting on it or whatever. So, yeah, you can still do it. Just don't wait. Do it soon. So. So you want to do that after they bloom in the spring. The minute they stop blooming and they're done, do your trimming of the flowers and trim them back to kind of thin them out. I had to do that to my azaleas; they were too close. But do it after they stop blooming in the spring. Roses, same thing. Valentine's Day is a good day to trim roses back. Although I still would say if you wanted to do it now, you could technically trim, especially knockouts and drifts. They're very forgiving to trim them back. The roses we have, I overbought this year. We've trimmed them through the summer since June, or May, maybe, yeah, June. We've trimmed them back 3 times. They look terrible when we trim them back. They leaf back out in green and they bloom again. We've done that 3 times. And so you could do that at your house too, especially if you want to keep them blooming, if you want to spend that time doing that. I took all my knockouts and roses out. Kristen was mad at me. She said, "Why'd you do that?" I said, I'm not trimming these things back. There's too much to take care of. So, but they are pretty. But, mhm. Yep. Yep. True. Yeah. 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 Yeah, the plant business has been very unique the past 3 years. Needless to say, probably everyone's life over the past 3 years. We had the best 2 years ever because we didn't have to shut down. Everybody went and planted in their yard. We had a 40-year record last year. This year we're struggling because no one wants to spend any money, although they are still buying stuff. So, and it's just been a unique. We couldn't get it, we got it, and now it's just like, now what do? You're trying to not overbuy. It's been a unique experience, but people still want to buy plants because they're pretty, and they're gonna still buy plants. So, any other questions? I don't know what time are y'all supposed to eat? Am I done early? Am I good? Okay. So there is a azalea specific food, a granular that you can use. I think we have a little bit of that. I would do that. You could miracle grow them. You could yeah. There is a specific because of the 3 things that you can get specifically for that. And you want to do that in the spring too. I think after they bloom, do the same thing. Put your fertilizer on them and cut them back. I've heard it's a weed. Actually, I may be wrong for saying this. The greenhouse manager told me this too. Some things that stick in your head, people tell you, if you look in a dictionary, a weed might be defined as anything that's out of its natural environment. I don't know. But I've heard goldenrod is a weed. Because isn't that like an allergy thing that people are allergic? Huh? Okay. I better not say it's a weed then. But, yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh. I don't know. I guess if you want them there, leave them. If not, then spray them and get rid of them. That's it. That's what I tell people about colors. Uh, so if it's all in what you like and mixing colors. Customers ask that a lot. Well, what colors? I'm not good with telling you what colors. I'll tell you what I like, but you need to figure out what colors, how you want to mix. Because if I had a choice like these colors, you could blend all this together. What's wrong with that, right? It's subjective of like what looks good, even though some people say things match and stuff like that. Hence, you see, I dress myself because if my wife tried to dress me, I wouldn't be wearing these colors. I'll just walk out the door, right, hat? Especially when the kids were younger, she would say, did you really take them out like that today? I said, why, what's wrong with this?
They say that there's 125 species of this plant, and that most are crayons, so I didn't even realize there were so many. And really, what they've been saying is very true. It's like something comes up. My husband used to always say it to me, because I go, you miss some weeds up there. He goes, what the heck are they around there? I think those are pretty flowers that are growing. So it's wherever they're pretty and they land in their garden.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you should,
Grow in meadows, but it doesn't say.
yeah, and give yourself a chance sometimes when stuff's coming up in your yard, because you never know what seeds of something blew over from somewhere else that you might actually want in your yard. I've made the mistake of cutting so much. I'm like, I think I just mowed. I forgot I planted it there. Just mowed it over. I'm so mad at myself. I do it all the time, but you never know. Something might come up and like, what is that? And they're like, oh, I let it come up. So, are we ready? Are we ready? Okay. Y'all got any more questions? If not, I'll let you guys. I guess, do we need to do this afterwards or now? All this stuff we're going to draw for names, and I'm going to let y'all take it because I'm not taking it back with me as gifts. Do we need to do that now or need to do it after food? Do it now? We have time now to draw? Okay. Where's y'all have the basket with names? And we might be able to actually do this pretty cool. And we'll make it where you get 6 packs. We might have enough to give everybody something. I don't know. If I split these up like this, so everybody get a chance to get something. What do you think? Okay. All right. The white stock that I pulled the flower off of.
Nancy Hughley.
I'll bring it to you. You're good. I need to walk. There you go.
Judy Mayhew.
How about Snapdragon? Where's she at? Next is the mom. Or you want the mom? There you go.
Wanda Bennett.
Did you ask and you shall receive? All right, Dianthus. Hat.
And
Purple.
Marion.
Where's Marion? Oh, there you are.
Patsy Mayo.
Mom. Miss
Carol
Mayo, where's she at?
Smith.
Carol Smith, you get that's what you're getting. Trying to Don't overwater it. Don't. How about the big mom?
Sue Wheeler and Diane Allen.
It's just about bloomed out, but hey.
The other name's Diane Allen.
All right, the Swiss chard.
And
The small croton.
Larry Grice.
There you go. You're welcome. You got the croton. Don't overwater it.
Mary Lou Hughes.
You get the point, Pele.
And Carolyn Grice.
Because you took so good care of that Mandevilla. All right.
And Sherry and Kathy Moore.
There you go. There you go. That Kel. What are we doing?
Carol Kelly and Jimmy Tyler.
I'm coming.
And Ricky Marston. And who didn't have their
Where's Ricky?
name in here? Gwen. Okay.
Sorry,
I think
I'm not
we've got enough for everybody
We-
to
I-
have one.
Hey, if that works out, I don't know how many people were coming.
Yeah. Gwen and who else? Who else at that time? Miriam.
Who doesn't have? How many?
Who didn't get one?
Who doesn't have something? We might have enough.
Jane didn't get one? I thought I called your name. Oh,
Stick it
you
right
got a door prize. Okay.
You got. Y'all got everything here, huh? Yeah. Where else? There's yours. There's yours. You get something?
Yes, I did.
I gotta bring something back. Who didn't get something? I think I got 5. I'm about to bring something back.
I want one.
Okay, there's yours. All right, who didn't get something? Okay, kitchen crew, you get the last 4. Or
There you
3.
go. Okay.
There's yours.
Let's all thank
Y'all do it with the way.
Tony for
There
the
you go.
wonderful presentation.
No. I'll get mine eventually. Oops.
Okay, now if we could bow for our blessing. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for these folks who've been in the kitchen working to prepare this wonderful meal for us. We just thank you so much that we have wonderful volunteers in this church to do this. We just ask that you bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies so that we can live for you in a Christ-like manner. In your name I pray. Amen.